Okay. So welcome everyone to Friday Study Circle. Welcome Nikhil ji. You've joined us after some time. Yeah. So Chitra ji, let's start with your sharing first. Anything that you have read? Yeah.
Yeah, I take a small book this time. This is All India Magazine about gratitude, actually. Yeah. And all the collected works are from all the sayings are from collected works of Mother only, actually. Yeah, I will read that, which appealed to me a lot. Sweet mother, when we make an effort to do better, but don't see any progress, we feel discouraged. What is the best thing to do? Not to mother's answer, not to be discouraged. Despondency leads nowhere. Yeah. To begin with, the first thing to tell yourself is that you are almost entirely incapable of knowing whether you are making progress or not. For very often, what seems to us to be a state of stagnation is something long, but in any case, not endless preparation for a leap forward. We sometimes seem to be marking time for weeks or months, and then suddenly something that was being prepared makes its appearance. And we see that there is quite a considerable change, and on several points at a time. As with everything in yoga, the effort for progress must be made for the love of the effort for progress. The joy of effort, the aspiration for progress must be enough in themselves, quite independent of the result. Everything one does in yoga must be done for the joy of doing it and not in view of the result one wants to obtain. Indeed, in life, always in all things, the result does not belong to us. And if we want to keep the right attitude, we must act, feel, think, strive spontaneously, for that is what we must do, and not in view of the result to be obtained. As soon as we think of the result, we begin to bargain, and that takes away all sincerity from the effort. You make an effort to progress because you feel within you the need, the imperative need to make an effort and progress. And this effort is the gift you offer to the divine consciousness in you, the divine consciousness in the universe. It is your way of expressing your gratitude, offering yourself. And whether this result in progress or not is of no importance. You will progress when it is decided that the time has come to progress and not because you desire it. Yeah, so many things are there, but till this I will stop actually. Yeah, very important. No, this one. You should not think of the progress, but you should make the effort for the joy of progress. No?
Exactly. I think I will share the screen so that we can go over these lines because these are so densely packed. I think there are so many points which we can discover.
Yeah. This is from actually.
I've got it. Yeah, I'll just put it to screen share. Yeah, can you see all of you?
Yeah. This one, same thing. Yeah.
Yes. So I think yesterday only we were talking, Swapna, you remember, where mother was talking that despondency, depression has no place where you are there for the joy of the path. Depression has no place, because even when we talk of depression, it is the ego which is getting into depression. So it's still the ego game going on. While if I just learn my lesson, get up and, on my toes back again, then it's hanging in midair. The ego does not get a chance to be labeled, that poor me, I can't do this yoga, I'm not fit for the yoga. It's the ego game going on. Yeah. So this is very important. Yeah, please keep sharing, everyone, whenever you feel like. And this is also beautiful, when mother says that you are almost entirely incapable of knowing whether you are making a progress.
Yeah, correct.
Because we have images of progress. कि
Mm.
अगर मेरी प्रोग्रेस हो रही है तो मैं ऐसी दिखनी चाहिए हूँ. But how do we know? How do we know that the progress is not happening? Just like they say that we always step into, we never step into the same river again.
Yeah.
So although it may seem like that I'm making the same mistake, but I will have a better clarity about that mistake. Maybe a guilt rises in the being, and I want to do something about it. Something will be changing. It may appear like a same mistake, but it's not the same mistake. Yeah.
Especially in this path, the spiritual path, no, whatever may be the, following.
Yes.
Everyone will, think about that, those visions and those voices. Usually we will make it as a landmark, or that is the, what is it? Hallmark.
Yeah.
Hallmark of progress. No?
Yeah. That if I'm seeing violet color in my meditation,
yeah.
then something is happening. Otherwise,
yeah, that is the illusion. I think for everyone is having, but after some time only that will go, because if you don't get, it is a blessing, it seems. If you get something and if you stuck with that, that's all. yeah, that is
we often talk about this, Chitraji, that see, basically the normal ordinary human consciousness, we always seek for something outside so that I can be complete or fulfilled. Right. Now when we enter into spirituality and we are still craving for experiences in spirituality, either meditative experiences or other, it may seem that the game has changed, but it's the same seeking mind. The mind is still a beggar. Earlier it was craving for worldly approvals. Now it is craving for spiritual experiences. So the quality of mind has not transformed. So we are just fooling ourselves by thinking that something has changed actually. So you correctly said that it's a blessing if you are not getting those experiences. Let's go ahead then.
Very late only I realized that. Now I am sharing, of course, but I realized after a long time, because those days, no, go for experiences. What is the experience of you? What is the experience? We used to talk like that actually, but everything is an illusion. After some point only we realized, no, it is not yoga at all. Yoga is something else. Yeah. yeah, others can share now.
Yeah, this is also beautiful, and others please unmute and share. Otherwise I have this tendency of just going on and on and on. As with everything in yoga, the effort for progress must be made for the love of the effort of progress. I think iski humne bahut baar baat kari hai, where we talk about reaping the benefits of surrender. Why would I want to reap the benefits of surrender when surrender itself is so joyful? So who is looking towards the end of the path, कि ये करूंगा तो वो मिलेगा. So surrender itself is the goal. Surrender itself is joyful. So no matter how many darkness or challenges I have to go through in life, the path of surrendering continuously, is so absolutely joyful that there is nothing else worthy of pursuing in life. So that, that seeking game of the mind comes to an end. So now I am not seeking so that surrender can give me, something in future. That seeking stops, and that's a beautiful, liberation almost from the seeking game. So all of you, who have joined later, please unmute and share. We are just going through this passage one by one, reflecting upon it. Feel free to share in between. Yeah. थोड़ा unmute कर लीजिए, unmute.
I'm reading this book, Conversations on Yoga by the mother. And just because it was for Friday, I was reading. And one thing struck me, it's a short one. Sadhak asked Ma, at every moment, one must know how to lose all in order to gain all. What does this mean? Basically, what does it mean? So she said, we have already spoken about this. When we enter upon the path of yoga, why do our dear ones leave us? One loses all worldly possessions, all one's attachments. Sometimes even one loses one's position. And to gain what? The most important thing, the only thing which is valuable, is the divine consciousness. And to gain this, one must know how to lose all the goods of this world, to let go of all one's possessions, all desires, all attachments, all satisfactions. One must know how to lose all this if one wants to get the divine consciousness. It is a little paradoxical for the mind. I thought she said it so well. We very often are not willing to let go of everything. I mean, we hold back a little. Maybe I love my daughter a little. No, I love my parents a little more. And then I let go later. Once they're gone, then there's nothing. So it goes on. It's a very beautiful book. Next time I'll read something they've said about art and yoga together. And how she says getting involved into art, mother says, and how through art you reach the divine using yoga.
Beautiful.
Creativity.
It seems that we as human beings are almost addicted to our sweets and candies and lollies. And seems like this universal force of the creation, it wants to give us something really very beautiful than sweets and candies. But we are not ready to let go of the sweets and candies. We are so addicted that ऐसा लगता है कि मेरे हाथ से छूट जाएगा, बट वो नहीं दिख रहा जो मिल जाएगा, क्योंकि उसका अभी स्वाद ही नहीं है, बट वो दिख रहा है जो छूट जाएगा. So this is really beautiful what you share. Yeah.
What a stage comes in life when things you start letting go.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the age. I think, at least in my case, I think more than the age, it was the jhatkas I got very early in life.
Yeah.
One after the other, and one not finish, the next jumps. And then you say, this is all to pass. Even your nearest and dearest hurt you to a point where you just don't know. So I think what mother says, we better wake up and know that it's all to let go.
Beautiful. Yeah. Nikhil ji, would you like to share? You were saying something on the chat window. Please unmute.
So basically, as she said rightly, situations basically make you. It may not be an age, but the situations make the difference in your life. That's it.
The experiences that you go through in life, not the age, but the experiences. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. एक वो होती है ना, जैसे हमें आशा बंधी रहती है कि यहाँ से मिलेगा, वहां से मिलेगा, तो जब हर तरफ से झटके पड़ते हैं और कहीं से भी नहीं मिलता, only then we leave our sweets and candies because they are not now looking at as sweets and candies. तो वो झटके इतने important होते हैं, and I think it's a blessing if we can see all those jhatkas or blows and slaps as a blessing. It's a blessing in itself if we can see it like that, because what it leads us towards is so beautiful कि पागलपन लगता है कि ये कहाँ हाथ डाला हुआ था. Yeah.
When you wrote,
the situation is over, that is when we realize कि मैं गलत चीज के पीछे भाग रहा.
When she wrote that cancer is a blessing in disguise, something to that effect, I had just read it randomly in one of the things in one of the groups of mother which I was reading, and I said, she says it's a blessing. So that means she's got enough jhatkas to reach to Ma, means to go on that path. And whoever has felt that one hit, two hit, and multiple hits, I don't know why we human beings need jhatkas only to go that way, and why we can't go naturally, that we have an inclination and we go that way. It is so rare. We do invite, I feel that these are meant to shove us on the path. Dhakke khao and you better go now. It's high time. It's something like that.
Probably that is too because of our ego. We think that मुझे सब मालूम है, मैं जो सोच रहा हूँ वही सही है. And that is why झटका जब आता है तो पता चलता है कि भाई वो नहीं था. There was something else which is more important.
Very true.
Sri Aurobindo says human nature is like dog's tail. For straightening up, even if you have to put on a lot of weight, once the weight is taken off, it will be curved again. So that's the necessity of constant, a train of blows. Yeah. So Swapna, please, you don't have to raise hand. You just unmute and share.
I was just thinking about this point that the other participants were speaking about, and the I think it was an aphorism from yesterday, Monica, about how I don't have it in front of me, but just the thing of like, oh, I want thy will, mother, or the divine, but I want it also in my way, make it be thy will, but make sure you give me all the things I really want as well, and in this direction, and could you make it look like this and this person and this set of circumstances, and make that be your will, right? That seems to be a reason why the jhatkas need to come, at least in my case.
So true. Let thy will be done, but in my way. That's so beautiful. How clever we are. Yeah. We think we are clever, but it seems foolish actually after one point of time, that we are just harming our own self, our own sanity and peace we are taking away by these stubborn, actions in our life.
Yeah, and also the attachments, we take it as a true love sometimes, no? We think all the attachments, this is all not wrong. This is all true love only, no? In mother's path, love is allowed. We will give that excuse also. It will take long time to realize it is a real attachment only. It is not true love. The drop of true love we cannot touch. Yeah, we cannot touch.
Very true.
Only
love.
Because, yeah.
There is a session going to come. Namaha is holding a series of sessions on love and attachment.
Oh.
So I'll be speaking on love and attachment there, amongst the four speakers. So looking forward to that. And, you shared that. Yeah.
It's my experience. Long time I used to argue with mother, of course. So it is only I now truly know why these blows are coming from that person itself. Then after a long time I realized, no, it is not love, it is attachment. Because by giving attachment, we are expecting the same thing from them. No, if it is not coming, that reaction will be inimical, no, actually. So that should not come if we have that true love. Yeah, it took long time. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. And I think I also feel that through all these experiences, as if we have to move, a mother shares about the story of the creation, where bliss turned into suffering. So wherever attachment is there, there is suffering. We are expecting, demanding from the other person is also suffering, I am also suffering. So I think this is our journey as a human being. There is nothing wrong about it, that we start with attachment and suffering, and then we take it, use it as a raw material to move or to understand what really is love. We have not known really love in all our relationships, and now it's a joy actually to realize that, oh my God, I was attached, that was not love. It's actually a joy to recognize that. Yeah.
And at the same time, we should not lose that sensitivity also, no? We should not become dry, and that also is not.
It's actually a revelation to us along the path. And a lot of it matches with the Srimad Bhagavad Gita also. If you really look at it, so, oh, what I read in Srimad Bhagavad Gita was the same. It's just that one person said it there, Lord said it there, and Ma is saying it here, but it's all matching.
You know, that dryness also, you know, Chitra ji, that dryness and indifference, I feel that is not love. That again falls into the category of, because whenever I'm attached to some person, now owing to the fact that I see that now I have to separate, or, you know, physically or emotionally, mentally dissociate myself from that person for my own sanity, in the beginning dryness can be there. No, because it's the ego which wanted to, you know, do something like this, and now I have to detach. So there is a hopelessness coming, dryness coming, indifference coming. But I think it's only a phase until you really touch your essence, and you know that all that you can do is to spill out the love that we are. You know, in a sense, we are love, and we can just spill out love, and that love does not demand anything in return. That is the beauty.
That is the thing, underlining thing, no, that we have to notice. If we don't expect, it is, there comes at least a drop of love.
When there is unconditional love, we don't expect anything. But it is normally always a conditional love, which we don't feel, and that is where the attachment comes. The moment you have any expectation from the opposite side, it is attachment. And the ego works there.
I think unconditional love comes a lot with surrender. Once you surrender, it starts to come.
You know, Kabir ji says at this, you know, he has written a lot of, not written really, spoken a lot on love, you know, in couplets. He says, Jab main tha, tab hari nahi. So when main is present, then the Hari or Lord or love is not present. It's absent. Jab main tha, tab hari nahi. Ab Hari hai, to main nahi. So,
that's so fantastic.
You know, the ego cannot be a loving ego. Ego is absent when love is present. So that is the beauty, you know, that it can never be that I am a loving ego, you know, that the ego has transformed. It's either the Lord is there or the ego is there. So that beggar inside us. Yeah.
From that only all problems start, I feel, actually. Jyotsna ji, you read, no, actually, that position, that because we feel that because of the attachment, when it goes away from us, we feel that divine is taking it from us, actually. It is not like that. But our attachment only will lead to that disappointment, no, actually. Yeah.
Everything root cause is our attachment and our ego.
Expectation.
Sometimes I do feel, oh, have I become indifferent, or have I become distant? Or do I not feel, or am I not as sensitive as I was before? It's not that. It's that the sensitivity is there, the recognition is there, the awareness is there, but it is at a distance.
Yeah.
There is something more important.
Yeah. And usually, you know, what we have seen living in families and what is shown in advertisements, serials, etc., you know, we have been seeing all the way that poking into each other's affairs is the way to live. We have not seen any other way.
Yes.
And we name that, okay, if you are not poking into my affairs, then you are not loving me. So I think it's just old images that we have been carrying, that the sensitivity is there, the love is also there, but it's not excessive poking into each other, you know, that
not
you talk to me because, not possessiveness. Yeah. So those of us who have not shared, I would invite you all to, you know, reflect or share, unmute and share, please. Nandini, Ramesh ji, Maya ji, Vishwanath ji, and Zaomi 4992 ji. Yeah. So one thing which is also clear in absence of any comments, I'm just going to further go on this document. Which is also clear is that, the mind, usually we are just so much abusing the mind in day-to-day lives, even where the mind is not needed, using the mind there, excessively thinking about people, situations, life situations, even when we know that it is not going to help me thinking, and yet I keep on obsessively thinking about it. I think there, owing to the fact that we are so stuck in the mind, here, mother says that we have images about ourselves progressing. I think that is, again, if one can recognize that, that is still the mind game going on, that, oh my god, I'm not peaceful as that person appears to be peaceful, so there must be something wrong with me, or things like that, always comparing oneself with others. I think there, one has to also keep on a check, or a vigilant kind of an eye, that we don't need to indulge into excessive judging ourselves. Once we are on the path, we just enjoy being on the path. That is enough. It's not a race, or competition, who reaches first, who will reach the infinite first. No one is ever going to reach. Just the joy is in traveling, the joy is in traveling. Yeah.
Basically, live for self, not for others.
Like you said, Monica, basically it should not be comparative. We shouldn't try to, oh, she feels this, but I don't feel it. So am I actually there? I mean, am I on any kind of path? And the whole illusion surfaces, that, अरे मैं पता नहीं मैं कहीं कुछ कर भी रही हूँ कि नहीं, कि मैं पढ़े ही जा रही हूँ, I'm just going on reading. Yeah.
I think in the path towards the psychic, one of the points that mother shares is, mind is incapable of judging spiritual things. So refrain from all mental opinion and judgment and reaction. I think that is one point which has, all these 11 points are so beautiful, the way towards the psychic where mother shares, uh, and we do this all the time. We are all the time judging ourselves, others, ye mere se niche, main isse upar. All the time this default, as if, robotic judgment is going on, and we buy into that judgment, we listen to that judgment, we follow the dictates of the judgment. So I think we need to stand apart from the judgment. Yes, judgment may be there, but I don't need to follow it. So not wanting to also shoo it away. Why is the judgment still there? As if I have not progressed in these years. Not even going there, but just letting the judgment be, but not following the dictates of the judgment also. Yeah.
I think, Monica, something else I noticed, like linking into the attachment and like attachment to somebody and the mental judgments. Like in my case, I noticed how the vital and the habituated way of thinking about a relationship or someone has so much charge, and it has so much kind of drama or Hollywood, Bollywood. And the alternative, which is just to trust, surrender, or touching into some kind of quiet that may be psychic or the mother, who knows, there's a lack of drama, there's a quietness. I think we talked about it too, this mundaneness, and it can be easy to overlook, or the body mind vital is just craving, like the drug from what seems like, well, I'm used to love looking like that, and then of course media and movies and all that's conditioning that has played into that as well. And so to allow myself to realize that part of not being attached or simply just trusting her is staying with that blahness, mundaneness space that apparently seems to be her way and indicates her love, which doesn't seem at all like one imagines.
Beautiful, Swapna, beautifully shared, totally, we are so conditioned by the love portrayed in the movies and shown all around us, that as if the taste buds or the mind has gotten used to that taste, that imagine that, usually in Punjabi families, we are very used to making food very rich with oil and gravies and all that. So as if the mind or the taste buds have gotten used to that quality of food. I think it's all just old habits die hard. So I have gotten used to being drenched in the melodrama of the mind, always thinking in my head about emotional stories and attachments, that this blandness or emptiness of the being or the silence of the being actually tastes very insipid or bland in the beginning. And that is why it is sahaj, it is so easily ignorable. Kabir says you would just say, oh my god, this cannot be love, this cannot be hari, because I have heard stories about the Lord. How can this blandness be hari? Yeah, but then I feel that the mind has to slowly develop a taste for this empty silent quietude of the being, and then slowly we can fill it up with beautiful things also, not just like letting it just bland and insipid. I think only then beautiful things can nurture, once the space is cleansed of all the garbage and melodrama. Yeah, all of us, please, welcome to share.
But there is a very peculiar peace in that blandness, which you don't forget. You say, "Hala, बहुत dull था, but शांति थी." Then after a few days or weeks, बहुत dull था, एकदम boring था, but शांति थी. And that peace is what takes you towards the addiction of wanting more. There is a small thing which mother has said. Actually, it's a large one, but I'll only read the first paragraph, which is connected to this. So, the same person asked, how can one transform the vital? Because we are almost ruled by it. But it is in connection with what Swapna ji said. The first step is will. Secondly, sincerity and aspiration. But will and aspiration are almost the same thing. One follows the other. Then comes perseverance. And yes, perseverance is necessary in any process. And what is this process, Mother says? First, there must be the ability to observe and discern, the ability to find the vital in oneself. Else you will be hard put to it to say, this comes from the vital, this comes from the mind, and this comes from the body. Everything will seem to you mixed and indistinct. So we have to start questioning. Actually, I do it sometimes when I remember, and a very clear squeak comes. Hey, this is your vital playing with you. Yes. Though we don't want to accept it so easily.
Yeah. Because we are ruled by the vital, it become our master, always wanting to control what people are doing, fixing their behaviors, always aggressively going into some direction. Yes. I think if one can really sort this in our being, it's a beauty, it's a beauty to be able to stop right here. So there is a aggressiveness coming from my inside, a rush to control somebody's behavior. Yes. And you stop right there, not out of a suppression, but out of an understanding that I have fallen on my nose so badly, so many times. Do I still want to torture myself and the others? More like an understanding. And then the will can also be exercised. Then I can actually stop myself. But if this understanding is not there, then I cannot suppress it. It's very hard to suppress. Where, Kabir says, daudat daudat bhagiya, jahan lagi man ki daud, daud thake, man sthir bhaya. So man sthir aise nahi bheta. Man sthir tab bheta hai when I have gotten in every direction trying to please everyone or, find comfort. I have fallen on my nose again and again. And now out of understanding, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this. And then you can stop yourself from that vital rush. That's really beautiful if one can recognize that rush. Saves us from a lot of foolish things. Yeah.
There are moments when I suddenly realize, oh, this is my vital saying, but I say it loudly by mistake. And my husband says, what is this vital, vital you keep telling? And then that vital puts a brake on you shouting, this vital is good. Because I stop and I say, no, it's my vital playing. I won't give in. And then I just hope, each time that I will be having a better awareness and control of it.
I think it's beautiful. Even in the middle of the drama, you can stop yourself. It's a beauty, you get that joy in stopping.
You look loony, actually. You're yelling, and then suddenly you say, no, my vital took over. It's happening, yeah.
The other thing I also notice is like there's such a contraction and a smallness that seems to come in when there's the vital or the pursuit of someone in the normal sense of love that I think the Hollywood Bollywood version, and the enlargement that comes with being with that more peaceful, mundane, calm sense of love, or at least closeness to the mother that I'm getting used to. It's like, oh, there is an element of enlargement that I had never noticed before, because it doesn't have the bells and whistles of the other way. But I'd never quite noticed just how stressful and that even physically the body seems to get smaller in being, in someone's business, or how you describe the Punjabi family, Monica. But that version of possessiveness or attachment or dictating what the other should or shouldn't do or be or not be, or offer me or not offer. And the other way is just much, much more spacious in my body, as well as the energy, the feel of the energy that's around me.
That's really beautiful. Very, very, very powerful. I think if one can get a touch of this sense of unease and narrowness, when one is poking into others' affairs, or being a beggar all the time, I think that is beautiful. I think it's such a blessing to have that taste, because I would actually not want to have that taste again and again of being a beggar. So Mother also talks about, this sense of unease in the being. So once you get used to the bland and insipid taste of enlargement or the spaciousness that you talk of, then you would actually not want to go back into the beggar game again, or wanting and seeking approval and validation and love, because it doesn't taste nice. It's distasteful. It does not taste nice. But owing to the rush of emotions, we are just propelled usually ignorantly in that direction. So it's a beautiful thing if you can, pinpoint that this is narrowing me and this is enlarging me. It's beautiful.
And also my personal experience, about judging by others and judging the others, actually. And my daughter is not married. She doesn't want to get married, actually. So my relatives and my friends, everyone used to ask me how you are remaining happy, how you are peaceful. So I gave a thought for a long time. I was in a great confusion what to do about this relationships and friends, actually. Then I slowly cut off one by one. And at one period, I thought whether I feel superior because I am in this path. They are all ordinary people. So they are asking such questions. That feeling also should not be there. But I am also not comfortable with those questions, actually. So then I decided it is for my sake, actually. I cut off the relationship and friendship. Nothing is wrong with them. It is their way of living. So they are asking. But I just did that, and then I got that peace, really. So this is the experience, because I don't want to judge anyone, but everyone started judging me, actually. How you remain peaceful and happy? Because yeah, that I can't understand first, and then slowly I did this. Actually, I realized and I did this.
You know, Chitra ji, if I were you, I would actually, you know, because these questions have come up earlier also. I'll relate to, you know, you regarding this. So when somebody says that your daughter is not married, how are you remaining peaceful and, you know, settled in your being? I would ask that person, okay, your daughter is married, your kids are married. Have you gotten internal peace or calm or settlement? They haven't. They haven't. And we must ask this question, because everywhere from, you know, relatives and everywhere, people do, you know, talk about this. Okay, job is not there. How are you peaceful? Okay, you have a job. Are you peaceful?
Yeah,
Must be asked.
in that I lack. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And the other thing is the point about judgment. You know, imagine that I am your best friend. Okay, I have gotten into this habit of addiction to alcohol.
Okay.
Now, would you still be saying, oh, Monica, I don't want to judge you. You keep on drinking, you know, I don't want to judge you. Otherwise, if you are a real friend, you would actually be judging me and saying, you know, why are you falling into drain? Come out, you can do better. So I think we also lack a deep love for others in our life. Because if I'm really loving towards that person, I would actually talk to him and I will judge him that this addiction is not good for you. You know, kick his ass, come out, you know, and help him to come out.
Yeah.
So I think we should judge. There is a difference between judgment and discernment.
Yeah, correct. So now I understood. Yes.
This could be discernment, viveka.
Okay.
And judgment is when you are labeling people superior, inferior, you know, whatever, you know, external face value. Yeah. We must judge, you know, I think we must judge. Because then imagine that I have to do a company, right? I have gotten a company of friends. If I'm not able to discern what is the right company for me, how would, you know, I be really, how would I be liberated out of this illusion of darkness? So I need to discern that, okay, this is a right company for me. This enlarges me, this expands me. And hence, you know, I use my judgment for a proper reason. Yeah.
Chitra ji, something connected to your thing. My younger sister, who is 3 years younger than me, she's not married. And my parents, my own parents, hounded her. You get married, what are people saying? And the same rigmarole began. And I told them, give her a chance to live. And her explanation was, every time when she was questioned, she would say, you look around the world, how many married people are happy? I'm happier this way. I'm with the Lord. She's a devotee of Sri Krishna. And now my sister is 60. She is the one who is fundamentally taking care of my parents and doing my job also. So every time they say, oh, but you know, she's not married. And then I stop them. They're right there and they're my parents. I question them and I say, you underestimated the power of this girl who is actually your savior now. You know, and she, and I said, you need to repay her for staying single. She is the one who is your savior. So, you know, when what Monica said, it struck me because unless you question back, unless you give a reasoning, sometimes the people, unki tubelight nahi jalti. It doesn't flash. So when you tell them, then that awareness comes that, oh yeah, she's got a point. Everybody's not happy.
That's true. I think this questioning is very important.
Probably they have been insisting on something because of their experience. उस जमाने में एक लड़की अगर शादी नहीं हुई है, and then the family members are not there anymore. If she stays alone, she is old enough. तो उतना calmness, peacefulness नहीं होता था. अगर आपको मेडिटेशन भी करना हो तभी भी इतना, अभी आज जितना कंफर्टेबल हम लोग हैं, लाइक सिटिंग इन मुंबई, आई एम इन कनेक्टेड विद पौंडीचेरी, करेक्ट। अभी ये एक उस जमाने में नहीं था। तो एक लेडी के लिए तभी उस एज में अकेले हैं और उसके फैमिली के दूसरे सब लोग फैमिली वाले हैं, बच्चे हैं, तो यू फील लाइक लोनलीनेस। तो पेरेंट्स को बेसिकली तभी हो जाता है कि भाई मेरी ये बेटी क्यों अकेली रह जाएगी, उसके बदले उसकी भी शादी अगर हो जाए, उसकी भी एक फैमिली हो, तो एटलीस्ट दे विल बी हैप्पी दैट माय डॉटर इज सेटल्ड। दैट प्रोबेबली मे बी वन ऑफ द व्यू पॉइंट। तो इसलिए सब जगह पे क्वेश्चन करो, अच्छा है, बराबर है, बट देन व्हेन यू क्वेश्चन देम समटाइम्स इट बिकम्स दैट यू आर अटैच्ड, और वहीं पे फिर आपका ईगो हो जाता है कि भाई आपको जो चाहिए वो आंसर आप एक्सपेक्ट करते हो। When you question them, you expect your answer to come from their mouth, और अगर वो नहीं आता है आप दुखी हो जाते हैं, and then that is the time you will realize कि ये जो attachment था, ये मैंने अब जो प्यार देना था, the love I was supposed to give unconditional, वो unconditional नहीं हो गया, कंडीशनल हो गया कि भाई मैं जो चाहती हूँ ऐसा ही होना चाहिए था, बट ये नहीं हो रहा है और उन लोग समझ नहीं रहे हैं मुझे। ऑल दोस थिंग्स बेसिकली ऑल इज इंटरलिंक। सच्ची बोलूं तो जैसे आपने फ्रेंड्स के लिए भी बोला ना कि ये फ्रेंड्स मेरे कितने काम के हैं, नहीं है, बट देन व्हाई डू यू थिंक दैट वे? यू थिंक ना मुझे प्यार देना है, मैं प्यार देती रही हूँ, करेक्ट। प्यार सामने से आए ना आए मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, बट प्यार देने से जो मुझे खुशी मिल रही है, दैट इटसेल्फ इज सफिशिएंट।
आई वुड निखिल जी, यहाँ पे ना मुझे, जैसे आप प्यार देने की बात कर रहे हैं, प्यार देने की भी हमारे दिमाग में इमेजेस हैं. If a person who is my closest friend is falling into a drain and I don't kick his ass, and in the name of love, I love you so much, that's why I don't want to kick your ass, I think that would not be love, because love would be expansion of the being, love would be progress, love would be courage. So if I don't have the courage to kick my own friend's ass trying to save a relationship, कि है अगर इसने मेरे बारे में बुरा सोचना शुरू कर दिया, I will lose a friend. So what I am doing, actually this is a very great act of selflessness. I don't want to save the relationship, but I want this friend to get up and get out of this drain. This is rather a big act of love rather than mushing around, a friend in the name of love. But this kind of love we usually do not get across in our day-to-day life. Personally, I have been personally benefited by the most by a friend in life who has kicked me at the right moment, and she has not stopped kicking me even when, whenever I fail, in the sense she knows that I can do better, and she kicks me every time. So from those kicks, I have gotten, I would say, a new taste of love, that the other person does not want to save the relationship, but he wants the best for
best.
Yeah. Yeah. Please go ahead, Nandini. Yeah.
So please go ahead.
So this is I'm reminded. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Monica ji, I was just reminded when you were talking of love that, there's a German quotation which says, love does not always mean saying yes, yes, yes. It also means saying sometimes no, 999. So that was, I remembered. Also, what Jasmine ji was saying regarding, with, if I may offer a suggestion with due humility, that you cut off the relationship with the ladies who kept talking to you about your daughter's marriage.
Yeah.
What I would try, or maybe you have already tried that, I don't know, is to initially tell them that please, I would appreciate the fact that you don't ask me this question, because I'm happy with what my daughter is doing. And I'm all right with it. It may not, be okay in your world, but it's okay with me and my daughter and in my family. So I would appreciate if you don't, ask me this question over and over again. And maybe there might be a little rift initially in their behavior towards you or your behavior towards them. But I would try that before cutting off the relationship, because I think mother has also said that, you know, I think there are many a certain very situations where you need to close the door, but there are sometimes we need to leave the door open so that at least we understand what the other people are, you know, trying to do. So if you, I mean, I would do that. I would do that. Initially, I would firmly and respectfully say that please don't question me over this again and again. And then, of course, if it continues to persist, then I would, you know, kind of discontinue the relationship.
So, yeah, thanks for this. But actually, yeah.
Maybe you already tried it, as I said.
Yeah,
maybe you've already tried it.
Yeah. There are other things coming up because they used to insist about all pujas and something like that actually. So that I want to, avoid all those things. That's why finally I gave a thought and cut off the
thing. Yeah. Also, what I, you know, I was, something that was coming in my mind is like, you know, we talk about love and attachment and ego and all these things. And I think many of us read and it's there in the head. And as I said, it has to come into the heart to actually practice it. And sometimes in my own personal experience, I feel that we are at a certain stage of evolution, right? We are growing. So if we are at step, I'll use my name, Maya. So if we are at step M and we have to rise further, and we know that, I know that I have to rise further from the mental mind, but it, as I said, it has yet to translate into the heart. So I must be patient with myself in this process, because if I force myself to go from, you know, M to a higher stage, and if I drastically force myself, I think there are, you know, there could be severe repercussions. So I think the balance between having patience with oneself and, you know, also continuing to try and evolve, I think that's important, because I've always seen if one forces oneself to get into some another, of course, a better evolutionary place, it still hits the system. Just my feedback.
You know, on this, Mayaji, Kabirji says to the sadhak on the path, "Dhire dhire re mana, dhire sab kuch hoye, mali siiche 100 ghada, ritu aaye phal hoye." And we were discussing last time that why is Kabirji saying "dhire dhire"? Huh? क्योंकि ये तो काफी urgent situation लगती है. The state we are in, the human ignorance, it seems like it is urgent that I do something about it. Now there is a difference that Kabir is always talking to sadho. He's saying, "Suno bhai sadho." So he's talking to a person who is already chosen this path of evolution. For them, as mother also says, you know, you were sharing beautifully that perseverance is the key. Dhire dhire re mana. But for the one drenched in ignorance, "Are bhaiya abhi ke abhi utho," or, you know, hilao apni ass, for example. So that is inertia that I don't want to move, right? So I think that's beautiful. And again, if I'm seeking to move ladder after ladder or steps after steps, it is again the seeking game of the mind going on. So the quality of mind has not changed. Earlier, it was seeking worldly experiences. Now it is seeking spiritual experiences. While if I am really sincerely, truly on the path, even a little bit of progress in the day, I think that was really feel, you know, so much of content, and I would feel blessed that thank God for being on this path. You know, when we are able to see our own darkness and transmute them into some kind of a ladder for ourselves, that itself appears like a blessing, you know. और तब उसमें मुझे लगता है कोई rush होता भी नहीं है. There is no vital rush That is, we are becoming more and more aware of the vital rush. कि उधर नहीं भागना है, भागने की जरूरत नहीं है, भागने की जरूरत नहीं है, slow down, गदाधारी भीम, slow down, almost like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is, as I said, sometimes भागने की जरूरत नहीं है, and one needs to have patience and perseverance. And yet at the same time, when one is very sensitive and alert and is, to both the mind and the heart, as a human being, then there is a lot of anger that turns inward towards oneself. What the heck, I know everything, and yet I am failing in reaching that particular state. So again, that anger which is turned inward can be very difficult. Also,
Maya ji, just a second.
To practice that patience is important, but it doesn't happen. Yeah.
Your point on the anger, I would question it, because if I am angry towards, oh my God, how can I be so low? Something like that. When I know everything, how can I be so low? Somewhere I have this superior image of mine. Otherwise, that anger cannot be present. Somewhere I think very highly of myself, that, oh my God, I am here. How on earth can I do such meanly activity? So I can actually use, if the ripple of the anger is there, to see that I still am stuck in an image about myself, that I am a superior creature. How can I fall down to a lower level? And use this as a means that I don't need to have an image about myself. I don't need to have a superior or inferior image about myself. And then how does it feel? Yeah.
So it may not really be an image of oneself. It is, as I said, really a sensitive understanding of both the heart and the mind. It's also not building up an image of oneself, because one has a sensitive understanding of one's own functioning of the heart and mind. One realizes that, look, still you know, and yet you are unable to move. So maybe there are other things happening. It may not just be a superior image of oneself. Maybe there is some other kind of stuff that is happening, and that needs to be cleaned out, which one has to be aware of. I don't know. But as I'm saying, it need not be a superior image. It could be something else. Yeah.
I think कुछ यहाँ पे छुपा हुआ है माया जी, कुछ यहाँ पे.
हाँ, तो वही मैं बोल रही हूँ कि there could be other things.
For example,
there could be other. Yeah. I don't know.
I think at some places it is.
It could be, I don't know, conditioning, habits, whatever. It could be something very, very strong. It's a very, yeah.
Could it be somewhere that it is ego versus humility?
नहीं, वो मैंने बोला ना, Jyotsna ji. It's not a question of a superior and inferior image. It's not that.
No, that, the me, I says, how can I be like this when I know such a lot? I should be able to rise. But somewhere the humility is put in the background.
It's like this that, one knows. One also knows that one has the potentiality to move up. And there is something which is impeding the progress. It's nothing connected with superiority. It's nothing connected with superiority and humility.
Mother said strongly, it will happen at its own time. Even when Sadhak's prayer is there, Amrita, he prayed to Mother like that. Let that happen in its own time, in which time you decide. That humility and surrender should come there actually. Yeah, that is the thing. That is the answer.
Maybe it is surrender. It's definitely not question of pride and ego and arrogance.
No, even if it is there, we have to admit it and we have to.
No, I absolutely agree with that. But as I'm saying to you, that I absolutely agree with that. And as much as I said, it's a very sensitive understanding. And I think it could probably I would resonate more with surrender rather than, you know, this ego and pride and superior, inferior image. I don't think that, I mean, it could apply with many others, but at this point of time, in my experience, I think it resonates more with an increasing surrender rather than that superiority. Yes, Monica ji, thank you. Yes, Jasmine ji, thank you.
Chitra. Yeah, Monica. So, can you hear me?
Yes, Nandini. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I think what you said, you know, at that point of time when your friend, I mean, you know, the friend who so selfless love in that. I think what happens also sometimes is that the person who you sort of push, and you know that, you know, this is not to benefit you in any way, but I think the other person also has to recognize that there is, you know, unless that recognition is there, I don't think, see, because in your case probably the clarity and the awareness is there, but if you're trying to do something good for somebody, and if the awareness and recognition is itself not there, then you leave it at that be and say, okay, you know, I did what I could, but I can't drag you out of the mess, you know.
That's true. I understand, Nandini.
And I completely understand it, because sometimes that the courage to tell somebody, you know, it has happened to me just a couple of times, not obviously when you truly care or love, or, you know, however you want to put it. I mean, it's also, you know, it's also in the times of like how you know, I can deal with it now, because see, I have a teenager at home, and I mean, obviously my love for her is selfless. There are certain ways, you know, but I get it. She's not in that space right now, you know. I mean, nothing I say is making a whatever difference, or however that you want to put it. But so I let it be, and I say, okay, when it happens, I will give her that space and time. But I'm talking about, this is in case of a child, but I think when it comes to an adult, and when you are trying to, unless they recognize it, it has been difficult, at least in my case. You know?
I would agree, you know. So if someone is kicking me, there has to be a receptivity in me, so that I can take that kick nicely,
right,
and for my own benefit. I totally buy.
So there was this quotation the other day, right? Even I think Maya was just saying, I think we are all where we are supposed to be. So it's like this, right? I mean, if I'm looking for my tribe for the last so many years, I have only found it now. See, now I'm able to speak about, like, I'm sure Mother has, you know, sort of divinely sort of orchestrated this, and here I am. So that's how I think, you know, I mean, it might be there for so many years with us, but it's just the time that has sort of come about. Thank you.
Correctly said. Yeah, correct.
Thank you for sharing, Nandini. You know, one thing which I feel, you know, usually we are always avoiding, I think after that we can wind up. Usually we are avoiding discomfort. You know, usually we are avoiding confrontations. We always avoid them.
Yeah.
But for our own benefit, which is not the benefit of the ego, for our own benefit, these kind of confrontations or going through the discomfort or argument are very, very
and the thing is, I see, so that's what I think in one of the other two sessions during, you know, on, you know, Wednesday meetings, I think what I will see sometimes, so like how it's not about the anger, which also sort of is inward, and I have realized that this anger has also benefited my growth. Because if I was not angry with some things, I would have never confronted those things. And like you said, right? I mean, most people do not want to confront anything, because because anger is considered, you know, a little, obviously one of the emotions that is not, you know, put in its rightful whatever. But See, because obviously anger has led to revolutions, anger has led to change, anger has led to so many things in the same manner that even love has. So they're both sides of the coin that we feel, you know, I mean, should be given its due respect, I think.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. You know, Mother, I think at one point of time I have read about this, that the vigor of anger, it helps so that I can arrange for resources. So if I am not able to use the vigor, you know, I will not be able to collect the resources, because it's not very easy to collect the resources. So the vigor has to be there. And one thing which I just maybe connected with what you're sharing, it feels to us that love is an opposite of hate, or anger is not love. But I would look at that love is the deep allowing space in which anger can be there, hate can be there, jealousy can be there, all the emotions can be there. It is that allowing space that let things be and evolve in their own time. Yeah. So then anger cannot be, or hate cannot be opposite of love. Love will be all encompassing.
Like yesterday,
and then
someone said the same thing. I think, you know, the love is the drive. You know, it's a drive, and the rest of it are like the passengers, your emotions, you know, the rest of it probably, you know, sadness, hurt, happiness, and all these. So
yeah, that is the one thing I learned from Monica's session. Actually, you see every thought and every quality, whatever it be, you see it with love, you admit it, and you recognize it is there. Yeah, that is the thing. It is a mantra for me now. Yeah, thank you.
What I also see in these sessions is exactly that there may be difference of opinion, there may be suggestions, there may be confrontation, there may be a lot of opposing views or whatever. But the take home has to be that we go as slightly larger souls, slightly larger, with a larger space, that we are willing to accept and move one quarter inch of a ladder ahead. Whatever we talk, whatever we take in, whatever interactions take place, it should tantamount to us being a little bit, I wouldn't say elevated, but
widened, expanded.
Yeah, the eternal student, right? And everyone is your teacher who's just appeared in front of you to let you know, and whether in the form of mother or whether whoever, you know, you associate your life, I mean, your, you know, you sort of reflect back with.
So. Yeah, हमारी छोटी गुरु बैठी है ना.
You know, this reminds me of the one prayer by the mother, and after that we can close. You know, mother says that I see myself falling. I was trying to find that exact prayer. I was not able to. Maybe I'll search again. Mother says that I see myself falling into that inconscience again, you know, again and again. These things happen. And then ultimately, every time mother closes the prayer, she says, yes, the darkness is there. Yes, all the inconscience is there. But I also know that you are also there. And I rest as if in your lap, knowing that, you know, slowly I would progress. That is so beautiful. That is something so practically doable. I don't have to, as I think Mayaji or who else was sharing, that we don't have to push ourselves too much. And today or yesterday only, I was going through this phase of a bit of burden, you know, heaviness. And I just rested almost, you know, I took a nap in the lap of the mother. And as if there was nothing, the dark cloud disappeared. I could not even have to, you know, connect. I did not need to connect the dots externally in order to regain that peace. So I think ultimately it's beautiful to go through prayers and meditations again and again, because the message we get is that the surface of the consciousness may have ripples and all kind of garbage, but in the depths of the being, there is always calm, peace, and quietude. So you keep on dipping your mind, you know, again and again in those depths, and do not focus much on trying to resolve the dots around. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Lovely
Thank you
session. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Enlightening.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dusla.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Nandini. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.
Thank you.